I'm not sure you attended that workshop yesterday, but maybe we should start on that note before we come to the market. Your thoughts on the buzz around market making. I think some people are still somewhat skeptical. I think for good reasons as well. This is something we've never done before. I mean, I even chatted with some of the market makers and they felt it's still fingers crossed as to how the market would receive this. But what are your early thoughts before we see that introduction next week?
All right, thank you, Wole, for having me here. Market making is critical, as you know. It's critical for market efficiency. It's critical for correct pricing, for price discovery in any efficient market, which the Nigerian Stock Exchange Management is currently trying to achieve. And of course, liquidity, that's what the market makers are supposed to do. Continuous liquidity, continuous trading in equities that are assigned to them. Nigerian Stock Exchange Management has gone, beyond all the rhetorics to actually appoint these market makers to make sure that it becomes operational, so that we can have a deeper market, a more liquid market, so that it can attract international flow of capital. You can attract more bigger institutional investors in the Nigerian space. And without again saying, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, which I'm aware of, I've done extensive training, for the chosen market, the chosen few, I call them the chosen few, the big players, in the equities market. And this training has been continuous. It's gone on for almost like about 6 or 5 months. And I think maybe, they will be skeptical because it's a new thing. Like every new thing, you embrace it slowly because you don't know how it's going to play out. But I'm telling you, the market make it. Option is just the way the market is going to go. It's going to make the Nigerian market more liquid, which is an essential feature of an efficient market. It's going to make the Nigerian market deeper, which is an essential feature of any stock exchange that is what is sought.
Well, we look forward to it, and clearly we'll be watching that next week. But let's come back to the recent performance. We've seen the market come down a bit over the last 2 sessions. Your thoughts on the level of profit taking we're seeing? I spoke to an analyst yesterday, and he is of the view that we probably will see this market come down for 1 or 2 sessions and then perhaps stabilize and then go back up. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts are just exactly like what you've just gathered from the analyst you spoke with. Because if you look at last week, in isolation from the other previous weeks that we've had, that momentum, that run. Last week, you have stocks on the average having a week-on-week gain of about 16 to 20%, on the average. And that's huge, decent, for 1 week. It's just rational, that people take profit and try to, take some gain, from the market and reposition for the next run that we'll see. And you've seen the stocks that have contributed to the market decline. That's stocks like Cadbury, UBA, Unibank. These are stocks, Ashaka Cement, Dangote Sugar. The stocks that had on average of between 16 to 20% week-on-week gain. So it's just rational, and as the analyst said.
Well, you think it's going to pick up this week, before the end of this week?
Before the end of the week. Before the end of the week, yes.
Why? Because you see more appetite ahead of market making, or what exactly are you seeing? What do you think is the key driver at this stage? Because we did see the last numbers from the banking sector, from Access Bank yesterday, and we'll get to that in a bit. But what is the key driver from this point? Because the market has what? I think it's about 18% year to date.
Yeah.
So what is the driver from this point on?
Yeah, well, for me, I have a different view about market making, despite the fact that I'm very positive about the outcome of it, which I believe is a medium to long-term benefit for the market, not a short-term thing. Because as you said, people have to catch up, the participants, the operators, and the market participants have to catch up with the new phenomenon.
It's a new thing,
You get, but if you go through the documents of the market making is going to be is phased out. Right. Such that I'm going to start with a few stocks, then other stocks will be added to it. The securities lending, is part of it. The stocks and trying to work out all the various stages. So the market making really for me, fine. It's positive outlook for the market, but it's not what's really driving the market right now. The big factor driving the market right now is the big, huge appetite of institutional investors, big appetite of foreign investors that see in the market fundamental values that they can take advantage of, compared with the fixed income market that has
So for you, it's still all about the valuation of the market. Even though it has moved up 20%, we still have very good deals across the board.
Very good deals.
All right, let's come back to Access. Of course, they released numbers yesterday to close the earnings season for the banks. Very positive numbers, but maybe you can get your thoughts. We saw profits up over 200%. We saw the top line up about 100%. Many people are saying that it's coming from a low base, so in a way it's somewhat exaggerated, the performance. But all in all, I think still a very strong performance.
Yeah, I agree with you, Wole. And at this stage, I think at this stage for Access Bank, It's just confirmed, what everybody said, that the bank has moved from the league of the mid-tier banks to the league of the big-tier bank.
Yeah.
Because the kind of number they churned out yesterday was the big-tier bank churn out. And you said, when I say that because when you look at all the big banks, First Bank, GT Bank, Zenith Bank, these numbers about the same trend line in the kind of numbers they're churning out. Huge period, quarter to quarter comparison, quarter to full year 2011 comparison, and that's the same thing Access Bank is churning out. Of course, it's at this stage, it's too early for us to begin to say that are these numbers sustainable. We need to see the full account with the explanatory notes to see how the synergy with the Intercontinental Bank,
conference call as well.
Conference call as well, so we can have facts behind these figures, that we can test these figures and see whether these figures in the long haul will be sustainable to end the year.
Well, we look forward to that as well. But I think one key discussion point around Access Bank is the fact that they did that deal with Intercontinental. And are you impressed at the level of integration, the pace of integration? I think a lot of people put that as a big question mark for this deal, but I think from all indications, it's working out quite well.
Yeah, I've never doubted. Even I was skeptical, like most of my colleagues at work, about Access Bank proud to the challenge they try to build into Intercontinental Bank. But I've never been in doubt about the resolute rigor and hard work of the management team. They've shown that they're not scared to take on the big boys with truncated acquisitions of the big banks before now, like Union Bank and some of the banks that they try to acquire. And for me, I just think that I have no doubt, from that incident that they're going to make this work. They've wanted it. They've always wanted to be a big bank. They've tried several times to acquire banks to become a big bank. Now the ball is in the court. And you can see the numbers. I don't know what can give them that numbers, except for the intercontinental reach.
Right.
In terms of branch expansion.
I think it's one of those interesting deals where a smaller bank seems to be acquiring a bigger bank just because of the circumstances that we saw last year.
Yes,
all right, but your thoughts on the evaluation? I mean, what kind of upside do you see from where we're at now? It's trading closer to 7 naira. What are your thoughts about where it can go?
My thoughts on where it can go is, I think that stock to end the year will oscillate between 8 naira 50 kobo to 9 naira to end the year. Yeah, right. That's a very good upside potential.
Okay. All right, and maybe a quick point on the fixed income space. Your thoughts on, we've seen yield moderate a little bit, and we've talked a lot about the equity space, but for the fixed income space, where do you see things going? And to what extent would you say the moderation of yields is positive for the equity market?
Well, for the fixed income market, it's just that the yields, I believe, will just be about the same level or come down. And I say that because
of course we know we have the MPC coming up.
And I say that because of the inflation outlook. The inflation outlook is positive in terms of double-digit number. We still expect that to be positive, but we expect a rate of decline, a slowing growth, like a declining rate of growth in the inflation rate to end the year. It will still be double-digit, but because all the factors point to positive macroeconomic data in terms of economic growth is still positive. External reserve is accruing at such, everybody's wondering what's causing it, and these are factors, these are big factors that the MPC will consider, because what the MPC is really very bothered about, really, from 2011 to date, is the foreign exchange position. Foreign exchange rate vis-a-vis the dollar, because of the nature of the small open nature of the Nigerian economy, and we have such strong macroeconomic data. So the outlook for fixed income was still a downward trend in it, and a plus, I'm telling you, Wole, for the equities market, and you can see that in a few weeks, people are looking for better returns,
right.
In the equities market. And the equities market is offering.
Okay, but let's look a bit further to the MPC meeting coming up later this month. Your thoughts on what is likely to happen? For the first time, I begin to read about people thinking that we may see the MPC decide on a rate cut to 11.75 or thereabout. I don't know if FSDH has a view on this yet.
Yeah, I think we do. Our view is that if you look at the MPC, I tell people that it's always a delight to read the communique, because in the communique you can get a lot of information from it. And as I mentioned earlier on, the primary concern of the MPC is foreign exchange stability.
Right.
Essentially that's what they're concerned about. They've achieved that. And what can make them comfortable with the fact that we can achieve foreign exchange stability is the position of the external reserves. It's robust, about 40 billion naira now, at about 21% increase in the external reserve year to date, right. as at the last data they had as the 9th of September. And so for the MPC meeting, as I said earlier on, the macroeconomic perspective is positive. But an interesting read of the communique was the last communique of the fact that the central bank is concerned about the speculative nature of the perceived excess liquidity in the banking system. So in a combination of all of this, and I believe that the overwhelming factor, that the MPC will consider is, of course, its primary objective, which is consumer price and foreign exchange price stability. And on the strength of that, with the positive, as I said, look, we still have a positive inflation outlook, or that the decline rate. And monetary policy is supposed to be forward-looking, not backward-looking. So I think the MPC will still maintain.
I will look forward.
They'll maintain the MPR at 12%.